Hey everybody, Checklist Painting here with a new tutorial, bit of a different format today. Going to be working on not painting a model, but how to up your hobby game a little bit. A number of people have asked me to explain my spreadsheets, because I talk about it a lot. Whenever I have a new project that I'll be doing where I have to paint a whole army, I create a spreadsheet doc, and I'm a very goal-oriented person. So I like to break down the project into bite-sized chunks, usually by the day, where for each day I have small, easily achievable goals. And by doing that, I avoid burnout. And I also stay very focused, and I get things done very rapidly. If any of you guys watched the live streams on our lead up to Adepticon, you might remember we were working on my Adepticon army, Dark Eldar Craft World army. And we got that army painted in 17 days. And that was because of my spreadsheets. This is an old trick from when I used to do commission work. So I set up the spreadsheet a certain way. I divide up the tasks of painting the army into bite-sized chunks, and I stay on task, I stay focused, I stay motivated, and I avoid burnout. Because burnout is one of the major things that can keep people from accomplishing their goals. And even when I'm painting stuff, even with the spreadsheet, there are days where I just wake up and I'm like, you know what, I don't feel like painting today. I just don't, I'm not feeling it. And spreadsheet is great because when you're on a deadline and you focus on things each day and you have the schedule worked out, and if you start your project with enough time, you can work in wiggle room into your spreadsheet for those times where you just want to take a day off, because painting for a certain number of hours every day over a period of time, like, I don't think anybody can completely avoid burnout. I don't think it's possible. Like, even guys that are still doing studio work and they're just straight up machines, where they just do stuff every single day, there's always going to be a small amount of loss of motivation, a little bit of burnout. So, it's kind of unavoidable, but we're going to try our best to avoid it as much as possible. And doing a spreadsheet like this really, really helps. So the first thing I always do, just open up a spreadsheet, right? We got our Excel spreadsheet, Google Doc, however you want to do it. I use Google Docs because it's free and easy. Give ourselves a title, and I title things very specifically. So this army is going to be our Bay Area Open, Long War Doubles, Ultramarine Army. Okay. BAO, LWD, shorthand, ultras. Okay. Right? And then I always post a deadline in the title, so I know without a shadow of a doubt when is the last possible day that I have to get everything done. It just helps me stay motivated, right? And it helps me create our schedule. So if I know that the last possible day, like, no ifs, ands, or buts, this army has to be done by the 21st of March, or not March, but 21st of May, right? It could be any day. We're just talking about this specific project. So 21st of May, 21 May, right? So I just put that right in the title, so that way I always know. I don't have to look up when the dates are of the event if I forget or something like that. I always know that this army must be done 21st May, right? I usually use the columns here, right, A, B, C, D, but my ugly mug is in the way, so we're just gonna go out here so you can see everything better. Second thing I do is I always select, usually between 3 or 4 columns, and I resize them. This is pretty easy to do. You just right click, then resize column. It's measured in pixels, right? And I find that about 300 is about the right length to put the amount of information that we need into a single column. You know, if you use a different type of shorthand, it could be shorter. If you like to be very detailed in your day-to-day stuff, you can make it wider, but I find that 300 is usually about the perfect thing. So we're just going to resize these 3 columns. Okay, and that should be good for us, right? And then for this first column, we're just going to be listing days. So I don't think we need to resize that outside of 100, because we're just going to be putting in like the double digit or the single digit days of the project. So day 1 is usually by calendar date. I find that keeps things a little bit more on track. So you could do like day 1, day 2, etc. But that doesn't line up with any calendar days. So if you fall behind, that can get confusing. You can kind of get lost in the day-to-day stuff if you want to take a day off or something like that. So I know that we have until the 21st of May to do this. It's the 24th of April right now. So even if you watch this like, you know, a month from now, 6 months from now, whatever, it doesn't really matter like what date it is right this minute. You can use any dates you want, but it's just so we know that like I'm doing this project right now. This is an example. Today is the 24th, so April 24, right? Day one of the project. Okay. Then we go over to our other column, and we start with wherever you want your project to start. Now, normally I create these spreadsheets before I do anything. I may have already like created a list, may have already purchased the models. So normally day 1 is like build. It's like day 1 of the project is when everything starts being put together. In this case, I've already been working on this project for a little while, and I already have like the actual spreadsheet that I'm using for the project like already done, and we're working through it. So like right now I'm up to a step where everything has been primed, and I'm waiting for a few more things to come in the mail before I start doing actual paint work. But let's just say for the sake of this example, I haven't put anything together. So in this column, we're going to do assembly, right? And I usually give myself 2 days to do that. Right? You know, you can give yourself 3, 4, 5, whatever. Tailor your spreadsheet to the amount of time you have each day to work on your project. Okay. You know, this is my main thing. You know, I can work on stuff 8 hours a day if I want to. I usually work on stuff about 4 to 5 hours a day. That's my paint day. So again, to avoid burnout, I don't work on stuff all day, just a handful of hours each day. I find that regardless of your life situation, with exceptions, I understand there are extenuating circumstances, but almost everybody can devote at least 30 minutes a day to work on a project, to work on your hobby stuff. If you can't find 30 minutes, just 30 minutes to work on your stuff each day, you might need to kind of reprioritize your day-to-day stuff. And you can multitask. If you can't pull 30 minutes away from one thing, like maybe you have your favorite show every week, or a daily show that you want to watch every single day, like hobby stuff while you're watching that show. If you don't want to pull time away from something else, multitask. And like I said, I understand not everybody can actually do that. There's extenuating circumstances, but I find that 30 minutes is a pretty achievable time frame to work on stuff every single day. Now, you might be able to do a couple hours or, whatever, right? Or tailor your spreadsheet to your life. If you can only ever work on stuff Saturdays and Sundays, plan around that. Create your spreadsheet. Like I only have 2 days a week that I can work on my hobby stuff. So I'm going to spreadsheet based on Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, to get things done, right? This is just a framework. It can work for anything. It'll be fine. Okay. So 2 days for assembly. We'll go to the 26th. And then I start breaking things down by sections. And I define sections by types of models. Typically that's heroes, infantry, large infantry, vehicles, and things of that nature. Like you can do small vehicles, large vehicles, super heavy vehicles if you want to, right? I lump it all in. So now we start priming. And I do priming based on the section. So I just do infantry. Infantry priming. And usually I also put in the number of infantry models, as well, like the number of models in each section. So if we pull out our battle scribe here, we can look at our doubles lists, right? And let's count all of our infantry. And I'm including heroes in this because we're just priming. So there's no reason to divide heroes and infantry because it's all the same prime. So we just count up, we get 1, 2, 5, which is 7. And then 12 becomes 19. Then a scout squad is 5, so 19, 20, 21, 23, 24. 24 so far. And then we've got 4 Vitrix Guard, so that's 28. Eliminator Squad is 3, so 29, 30, 31. 2 more Tech Marines, so 33. Then Gilliman himself is 34. So we have 34 infantry models. 34. Right? And then beyond that, next day, the 27th, we'll do vehicles. Vehicles priming, we'll count those up. Let's see here. I believe we have no vehicles. Oh, no, we do. So our Venator, so that's 1. Dreadnought is 2. Whirlwind, 3, 4. 4 vehicles, not that bad. But vehicles can be a little bit unwieldy, harder to get primed because of the way you have to like hold things or how you have to like mock it up to make sure that you're not like touching your fingers to wet paint or whatever. With infantry guys, you have little hobby holders, or you can put them on pins, all sorts of different things where you can have them all done. With vehicles, you have to like hold it a certain way, and it's a little bit. So I devoted data to vehicles because it's unwieldy, right? Easy peasy. Okay. Go to the 28th. Right? And now we're going to start busting it down, breaking those sections up a little bit more, like I said. So we're going to start off with basic infantry, which is going to be, our troops, so our basic guys. So we'll subtract our HQs from our total number of infantry. Let's see. So 3, 5 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So 5 HQs. which will bring that to 29. Now we start doing basic airbrush. So this is going to be like their ultramarines. So when I know that when I write basic airbrushing, I mean the blue armor of our ultramarines, right? Or in this case, for our infiltrators and our guys with the camo cloaks, we'll be using a camouflage scheme. So I know that like basic airbrushing is I'm going to get both of those done. So this is where our other columns can come into play to help that. So blue armor, ultras. Help if I typed. I'm not very good at typing. And then desert tan, khaki, Phobos. So that way I know what we're doing on that day, right? Keeps me oriented. Because like the other cool thing about this is that you can walk away from this and not worry about it because it's always going to be saved. And if I come back, you know, if I prime everything, you know, like cool, got my goal done, out of sight, out of mind, not worried about it, not stressing about the project, you know, keeps me cool and calm and collected. So I come back the next day, I'm like, all right, what are we doing today? And then I look at it. All right, cool. Blue armor, desert tan, got it. Let's get to airbrushing. Let's do it. And then 29, we'll do HQs. And we had 5. Basic airbrushing. Right. Okay. Ultras, red armor, tech burns. Damn. You can also do things a different way. Like if you want to complete parts of your army before moving on to something else, you can also work that into your schedule. So instead of doing like basic, you know, next step, etc., you could do you could just focus on basic infantry for the next few days until they're totally done, and then move on to the next thing. That works too. If that helps you accomplish your goals, that works as well. I like kind of doing everything at once until I get into the detail side of things. So I know that the army as a whole goes from unpainted to tabletop to tournament level to like max paint score display level, right? That's the way that I like to do things. But if you're different, you can make the schedule work for you. Again, this is just a framework, and this is just like how I do it. So this might help you, hopefully. I mean, that's why I'm doing this. I hope it just helps people. So then we'll go to the 30th. And vehicles done. Vehicles. Basic airbrushing. Go. Well, let's see. How many days are in April? Oh, 30. Cool. And then we'll go to May. Type in 1. Cool. All right. And so from here is where we start doing, again, we'll just go to the next step. So back to basic infantry. Basic infantry. And you can break the sections down even more if you want to. So we're going to go into a lot of hand painting steps. So like this step would be blocking in of all the base colors. Like we've got their armor done. So now we have to do like metallics and shoulder pad trim and joints and purity seals and belt pouches, like all that kind of stuff, right? So if doing 29 models at once, or X number of models at once is too much, you can break it down to smaller things. So for the sake of argument, let's say I don't want to work on 29 models at once. Let's break it down by the type of infantry. So let's go to basic infantry ultras, because these are all our blue guys. So let's see, that's going to be 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 out of that. So 19? No. Too early. Morning for this. It's 12. And 4. 16. 16 ultras. That's what I was looking for. So 16. Okay. Block in. Right, so we're just gonna block in basic colors. So cool. Don't really need to put anything specific. Again, if you need more specifics, you can utilize these two columns, right? Second day. Then we'll do Phobos, Scouts, Scoots, Scots, got. So that's gonna be 5, 10, 13. 13x. In base colors. Yep. And here I would also put like in paint ammo, because that needs to get done still. So that'd be part of it. And the third. And go to HQs. Five. Fourth. And a lot of this stuff, like, you know, I'm only blocking in the base colors on 5 HQs in one day. And that's something that probably won't take me a lot of time, but that's okay, because that's an easily achievable goal, and that's what we want. That's the whole point of this, is to avoid, like, I could do more, but I'm not going to, because, like, I have the time to stretch this out into bite-sized chunks. And if all I have to do is pick up 5 HQ units and block in the base colors, then that's something I can just knock out and I'll feel good because I accomplished a goal. Like, that's the main thing about using these spreadsheets, is that it avoids burnout by giving you a little win every day. So you can be like, oh, all I gotta do is block in base colors on 5 HQs and, like, I get a win. You know, I accomplished a goal, and you get that kind of that release of chemicals in your brain when you win or when you accomplish a goal, that feel good. So you get those little feel goods every day when you're working on a project, and that is like the #1 thing that avoids burnout. Those little end of day feel goodsies that you get, right? That's why it's so important. All right, and so at this point, once all these base colors are in, when we start doing a wash on the models. And again, like, washing is like, you know, do it super easy. It's like it's brain dead work. So I'm gonna like combine a lot of stuff again. So we'll just do all infantry, wash, right? And then sometimes you can schedule stuff on the same day. So we'll have 2 number 5s equals detail wash, right? Because I mean, that's, you can accomplish a massive goal in one day on your whole army because it doesn't take very long and it's not hard, right? All you're doing is like putting some wash on the models. And at the end of this step, when the wash is done drying, your army is now tabletop level. So let's see. If you were going from totally in the box to tabletop, let's count it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 12. 12 days. Right, 12 days from on the sprue to looking good on the tabletop for a 2,000 point army. That's pretty nice. You know, that's booking it, banging on all cylinders fast. And it's achievable. You can see, like, if you just break it down like this, that's really achievable. And it doesn't seem like it. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you painted your 2,000 point army in 17 days? That's insanely fast. It's like, well, if you do a little bit of work each day and you organize it, you can get that stuff done really fast, even if you're a slow painter, because you're breaking it up into bite-sized chunks with easily achievable goals, so you don't get burned out and you want to finish it on time, right? So we have even more days, obviously, between now and the May 21st deadline. So we're gonna fill up those days with more work because we want this army to look really nice. You know, we're going for max paint score. If you just want to get an army on the tabletop, stop here. Like, this is all you need. Like, get everything to, you know, some nice cool airbrushing, basic colors, and a wash, you know. And I'm including like basing on this, like, you know, all my models are already based. So if you want to do like extra basing steps, put that in your schedule. But you know, for the demo here, army is now tabletop ready after 12 days. But we're gonna keep going, right? So at this point, we'll break it back up again, and we'll go to detail work. So details, infantry, 29 models. Right. Then we'll go to HQs, because HQs are going to take a little bit more time, so you want a whole day for that. Want to make sure that we're not feeling rushed on our HQs. 4. And vehicles might require a lot of detail work, so we're going to have a whole day for that. Vehicles, detail. Again, you can use these columns to, you know, tell yourself exactly what needs to get done each day if you really want to break it up. You know, I don't need to, just because we're using shorthand. I know what I mean, and this is just a demo. But you know, if you need these extra spaces to tell you what to do, you know, what needs to get done on any given day, you can utilize those. Really handy. And so now, with only 3 more days of work, our army is now tournament level, because army's tabletop, you know, we got some sick airbrushing, we got our basic colors and a wash, so they're looking good. And then we just highlight that with our detail work, right? And with 3 extra days of work, you are now at a much higher level for your army, right? Only 3 days of work. Super easy. But we're going even farther. On the 9th. Infantry. Now let's keep the shorthand. So find details. Find details. OSL. Weathering. Infantry. Right? So now we're going to take those details. We're going to kick it up one more notch. We're going to do some fancy finishing work, what I call finishing work. So if there's glow areas, we'll do some OSL with the airbrush. They've got like a plasma gun or a flashlight or something like that, right? That can, you can do some of that fancy OSL stuff. I'll put some on there. And then weathering, if you want to do some paint chipping, if you want to do some scratches, if you want to use some weathering pigments, this is the step that I'm doing all that stuff in, right? Like the stuff that's going to take your army from, a clean tournament level to, I want to max the paint score at Adepticon, or I want to max the paint score at this tournament I'm going to, whatever. This is the step that we do that. And we kind of have it's like armies do this weird thing where they go from like a kind of a roller coaster of like lots and lots and lots of work to less and less and less work, back to lots and lots and lots of work to not a lot of work. So we go from like assembly, which is a lot of work, to priming, to airbrushing, to doing a little bit of basic colors where it goes back up again, to a wash, which is like easy peasy, right? And then we go to detail work, which is a little bit more. But then when you go to fine detail work, like you're not putting nearly as much paint on the models, you're not spending nearly as much time on each individual guy because you're just doing like little steps here and there on each guy. It's not very time consuming, so it goes back down, and then it goes back up with doing weathering and stuff like that, where you're spending a lot of time. So it again, with that weird way that armies go, this helps with that, right? And because when you're on that roller coaster, your emotions are doing that too. We're like, oh my god, I gotta build like 100 models, like dang, this is the worst. And then you get it done, and then you're like, oh, well, I just gotta prime stuff, that's easy. And then you're like, oh, I gotta airbrush all this stuff, and then you get it done, and you're like, oh, the next step is just like blocking in some stuff by hand. Oh, that's easy. And then it goes to washing. You're like, oh, that's really easy. And you just get those things done, and it takes a lot of that work, and it doesn't feel like it's a lot of work. And I think that's the main thing that this does, is it takes the insurmountable feat of painting a 2,000 point army, and it makes it seem like super, super easy if you just stick to it. I think that's the best thing. And we'll just like fill this in. And details, etc. We know what we're doing. Use wrap 7. And details. We know vehicles, and then that's it. So after this step, the army's done. Like done. Like I don't need to do anything else to it. At this point, you're like, oh well, I mean, I still have 10 days of nothing to do. Maybe I should do a display board. Maybe I should do like a tray for the army if I'm going to an event. Like 10 days is a ton of time. Like when you do this, I encourage you to try this with an army, or to really try doing this. When you do this, everything afterwards becomes easy. Like if you can finish an army in 18, 19 days, man, like the world is your oyster. It just, trust me on this. Like when I was a young hobby warthog and I was like, man, 2,000 point army, this is the worst. Like, how am I ever going to get this done? I know that feeling. I remember it. But when I started doing this stuff professionally, and I created this like spreadsheet way of doing things, everything just became simple. And it took a lot of that kind of that fear and that mystique out of the dreaded painting a 2,000 point army. So that's why I really encourage people to do this, like really try it out. And it really makes the hobby a lot more manageable, and you just feel good about it much more of your time. And I think that's, like I've said multiple times, like that's the main thing, is that you get those little feel goods, and it makes the hobby seem not so much of a time sink. So you can take those, like those armies you've always wanted to do, or that army that you're working on, and knock it out, because you get those feel goods and you avoid that burnout or that feeling of losing motivation or whatever. And so it's like it just solves so many issues. Like, you know, there's that meme of like, oh well, I got this like closet of unpainted miniatures. Like, well, I don't have that. Like, I have stuff that I have collected for doing things, like for projects and videos here and live streams and things like that that are unpainted, but that's all scheduled out. Like, that shit's getting done eventually. I don't have a closet full of like Space Marines in a box waiting to get painted one day. You know, when I get to, like, no, like all my stuff is like, I don't have armies waiting in the wings to get done. Like, when I start an army, it gets done because of these spreadsheets. And so it's like, that's why I encourage you to really do this. And you'd be surprised like what a normal person can do with this kind of organization. And like, everybody becomes really fast at painting. Like, it's just not that, it's not that hard to do, trust me. So like, I hope this helped. Like, I really do. Like, if you have any questions about this, like maybe you need help with your project, and you want to like ask me questions about how to organize your specific project, you know, like feel free to ask me. Like, if you send me a message on the Jack of Clubs Facebook page, just like direct message me on the Jack of Clubs page, and we can talk about it. I don't mind at all. And if you want like some more time, if you want like a lot of kind of like really in-depth help, you know, I offer that as a tier on my Patreon. So feel free to message me. I don't know why I just had a Streamlabs thing go. I guess somebody stumbled upon my channel while we're offline and that went off. That was a little weird. But yeah, like, there's a million ways to get in contact with me, so I encourage you, if you have any questions, like, feel free to ask me. And that's about it. So I'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one.